All right, we are on our last mini lesson. On day 5, you would have your students revise and edit for the targeted skill, and then you would assess the skill. Just to remind you, revising is improving your draft by changing or adding details, in this case related to the targeted grammar skill. That's what we are going to be revising for, just the targeted grammar skill. And then editing is improving your draft by checking for grammatical errors such as capitalization and punctuation. So why revise and edit? Well, the revision stage offers a very practical opportunity for discussing how grammar can improve writing. And revising and editing ensures direct application of skills and cultivates a habit of rereading and rewriting. So you'll just naturally see how teaching grammar works the best in the revising stage because it's all about improving their writing. So you can talk about how to improve their draft with the targeted grammar skill you're teaching them. Step 1 of this mini lesson would be to project a written draft that needs to be improved upon. It could be a past draft or a current draft. It doesn't have to be completed. And then model the revising and editing process with a checklist. Then invite your students to revise and edit their own current or prior written piece with the revising and editing checklist. All right, let me demonstrate how you would implement this mini lesson. So first you would want to select a draft that you've been modeling for your students. It can be a past draft that you've modeled or it can be a current one. Definitely doesn't need to be the whole piece. It can just be a section. You want to keep the modeling part about 5 minutes long probably. And then I have created a revising and editing checklist that is all about proper nouns because it is so much more helpful for our students to just have one targeted grammar skill you're revising and editing for. I used to have the tendency of putting like 10 items on my revising checklist where they had to check all these different things that I've taught them throughout the year already, but that can be overwhelming and just unfair to expect all that of our students. So it's best to just simplify your revising and editing checklist to only include items that you've taught them that week. So this is focused on grammar. You could also include some other items that are more related to the genre you're teaching. But here I just have all my items related to proper nouns. So the first thing on my revising checklist I would model is to read my writing. At Christmas, my family went to Canada to visit my Aunt Rachel and my cousins Kira and Kaylin. We had so much fun. Then it says highlight my names of people. If there are none, add one. Okay, I got Aunt Rachel and I have Kira and Kaylin. Okay, I don't need to add any. Highlight my names of places. If there are none, add one. Okay, I got Canada. Good. So I have already used proper nouns in my writing. That's great. Now my editing checklist, check that each proper noun has a capital. Canada, I forgot. So I'm going to put 3 little lines. Aunt Rachel is good, Kira is good, and Kaylin is good. And check that each sentence begins with a capital and ends with a period. Okay, at Christmas, yeah, we visit my Aunt Rachel and my cousins Kira and Kaylin. Yeah, yes, had so much fun. Oh, I forgot an end mark. I'll use an exclamation point. All right, I have completed that. All right, and now you would ask your students to use the same checklist to revise and edit their own reading. The last thing we need to do is assess our students for application of the targeted grammar skill. So when I used to assess grammar skills, it was most often multiple choice questions or questions where they had to identify and correct errors. And like I said before, they might do well on these assessments, but then they wouldn't apply these same skills into their writing. So I found them to be pointless, and research actually confirms that those types of assessments are not that valuable. Rather, research repeatedly states the importance of authentic assessments for assessing pretty much anything, including grammar. Authentic assessments engage students in relevant, meaningful tasks, in this case writing, that are useful for the real world. Why use authentic assessments? Well, they more accurately assess students' abilities to apply grammar in their writing, which is the main goal of our grammar instruction. So you can see here in this picture that students are going to be writing actual sentences that apply the targeted grammar skill. This is more authentic. This is actually assessing if our students can apply the grammar skill in their writing. Step 1 of this mini lesson is to create a writing prompt with specific criteria related to the targeted grammar skill and create a rubric to assess the criteria. Step 2, distribute the prompt and rubric, go over the rubrics criteria, and students complete assessments. And then finally, have students self-grade with the rubric or grade the assessment yourself. Record the grade and determine next steps. So let me demonstrate for you this authentic assessment on proper nouns. I have created a writing prompt that says, write one sentence about a teacher, your teacher, use the capital. Write one sentence about a friend, use the capital. Write one sentence about a place you like to go to, use the capital. And begin each sentence with a capital and end with an end mark. So you can see my writing prompt is geared towards my students using a proper noun in every sentence. So in first grade, it could just be really simple, like Mrs. Smith is nice. Okay, you don't need to have super high expectations here. As long as they have a complete sentence, use the proper noun. Maybe for a third or fourth grader, you would want them to write a slightly more detailed sentence. So write a sentence about a friend. I like to play tag with Ava at recess. A little more detail. All right. And then at the end, you can have your students self-assess with a rubric if you think they are able to do that. And this just gives more accountability and self-monitoring skills. So they would check, yeah, I have 3 complete sentences with a capital and end mark. Each sentence has a proper noun that is capitalized. And then the teacher would check over their grading and see if they agree with it, give them their scores. So yeah, I agree, 6 out of 6. And then down here, I just have a little section where if they mastered the skill, like got a 5 or 6 out of 6, you would circle the 3. If they got maybe 3 or 4 out of 6, they need a little bit more independent practice on proper nouns. And then if they got a 0, 1, or 2 out of 6, they need intervention with the teacher, some reteaching. So in this case, she mastered the skill, so I'm going to circle a 3, and she is ready to move on. Then I would input the student's level of mastery in this recording chart. It's just a one-sheet recording chart that has all the lessons and all my students' names. And then I put the number for how well they mastered the skill from the assessment. So Avery mastered proper nouns, so she got a 3. Jessica only got 4 out of 6, so she got a 2. She needs a little more practice. Miguel got a 3. Joseph got a 1 because he only got 1 out of 6 on his assessment. He needs more intervention. And then you can just get a quick visual of seeing what students need reteaching, what students may just need an extra worksheet or center activity or homework, and which students are ready to go and have mastered the concept.